Hello and welcome to today's EPULZE Valorant Prodigies tournament. My name is Ryan Central. It's day 2, Group B. Fish123, Fordon, Bears, Absolute Legends, and Valorando. 4 teams in this group, all of which will play one another throughout the day. Only 2 will qualify for the playoffs, which will be happening in a couple of weeks, alongside yesterday's victors, Dream Chasers, and Worst Players. Surprisingly enough, Hip Hip Hip, a team that not only was favoured to qualify, but also could go all the distance to the finals, to be honest, didn't qualify. But there's a lot of surprises today. Sorry about the delay, just a couple of things to do with the teams, but we are pretty much ready to go straight into game. First map choice was Fish123's, and we're going to split first. They chose to go to split first. They will be attacking, so we'll see what kind of plans that they have. Fish123, most of you will recognise that name by now. If you don't, I would, and a lot of other people would consider them to be the best team in Europe. Not by much. There are a couple of teams in and around them, but they've set themselves up really nicely to be spotted out in the future for various reasons. And they're from the UK, which mostly helps, apart from Ardis, who I think is... Oh, what nationality is he? I knew this before. I was like ready to flex my knowledge. He's Latvian. Okay, I never would have guessed that, to be fair. They will be playing against Fordon Bears, a team all made out of Polish players. And content creators, I think, too. I recognise Neeks. He was in the closed beta thingamabob that streamers and content creators got to be a part of before the game was officially launched into closed beta. But we will be going into game in about 5 seconds time as people are selecting their agents. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure to follow the Twitch channel if you want to keep up to date with all of the other teams and scores and stuff. Speaking of which, we heard your feedback from yesterday. You wanted us to have all the games happening at the same time. Soulcast didn't select an agent, so we'll have to wait on that. Oh, I see. They select the wrong agent. But if you want to see what's going on with Valorando versus Fordon Bears, the other game that's happening right now in this group, you can go over to twitch.tv/smile, but instead of an I, it's a 9. It will be in French, but it's a great game to have on another monitor muted if you want to concentrate on this one. Keep an eye on what your favourite team's doing. Oh, you are French, and you can just watch that normally. A lot of people asking for Boast. I think he's playing for Absolute Legends today, right? So that'll be twitch.tv/SM9LE. Maybe in French, but you're going to have to do. Big shout out to one of the supporters for today, the Spike.gg. Basically the HLTV of Valorant, where you can keep up to date with news, with articles, a bit of a forum. Any interviews with players, no doubt, from this tournament will be lined up. And they have released full events tabs, so now you can see exactly all of the stats for this event. Who top fragged yesterday, who looked good, who didn't. The spike.gg/events to see the EPULZE Valorant Prodigies tournament. You should see the tab there. You can see all of the upcoming matches, all of the results so far, and generally what the day is going to look like. So for the first time today, we go into split. Like I said before, it is going to be Fordon Bears defending first. I need to wake up a little bit too. Yesterday was a long day. 3 best of 3s, the last of which was 1-1 on split, and it finished 13-12. I enjoyed it. My vocal box didn't. But I have a cup of tea, and we're ready to watch some good Valorant. I would assume that there will be fairly quick games if Fish123 get what they want. And they are good at winning decisively. There's already very little happening. Cryptix takes us quite a lot of damage, but the heal is going to come in nicely. We can see what everybody's playing whilst there's a bit of a ruckus. Right now it's going to be a 3 versus 2. 3 versus 1 as Cryptix taken down, but EPULZE is only 14 health. It's considering pushing on this, but around this corner where the surviving members of Fordon Bears are, EPULZE is just the last one alive. Sadju is going to get an easy kill with what was left of EPULZE, and the defuse is going to come in quite nicely.
No charges left.
Gets near enough to a perfect start. The composition from Fish123 not looking too surprising or shocking. Aggressive, certainly, out of Fordon Bears. They're not running a cipher, which is interesting considering they're defending first. That they haven't decided to go for that, but Ice Paper Hands is going to get the first kill towards A. He's taken a lot of space up and managed to grab his teammate a gun. He's low on health, so he's just going to spam with the ghost towards where I think it would be Atitek. It's going to be standing. Rotation now coming towards B. Hands needs to be a bit careful here. There's a Brimstone looking in his general direction. The rest of the team is ready to move out with a bit of explosiveness, but they are going to be exploded on, and all that damage from PHR going to be able to mow them down. This is fairly easy, fairly standard. The current point now, 2-0 up for Fordon Bears. And now we'll start to see Fish123 being able to buy. Not too many warning signals just yet. But actually more surprising to see the guns that some of the members of Fordon Bears don't have. Because he's going to inherit a Spectre. Because he was the only one that was going without. But yeah, if you're looking at the guns, it's now looking to be advantage Fish123 even though they're 0-2 down. Cryptix demanding a heal after he got a nice kill. 2 kills to members of Fordon Bears. To do a bit of learning names, but Sachi will be playing the Sage. PHR is going to rotate. Only one alive in a 1 versus 4. Brings it down to a 1 versus 3. PHR or fur? I don't really know what you'd necessarily call it, but I'm assuming not just fur, because that just sounds like I've gone to the dentist and... Which teeth did you say it was? Not really. Call it PHR, but that's going to be a win finally on the books of Fish123. Like I said, if you want to keep up to date to all the stats of all the games, who's going to be top fragging for the day, then spike.gg/events. You should see EPULZE Valorant Prodigies there. Got the results. Get it broken down into maps or across all the games. Interesting that they're still not running the cipher. I think there's going to be a bit of a pause. Some issues somewhere. Has anybody said anything? But a good time to go over the results. I hope you can't hear the lawnmower in the background. You know how it is. Any summer weather, the lawnmowers start to come out in Britain. More pressing thing is that we're in an apartment building. There's not much grass around to cut, but... Hey, game volume, I can do that. Issue about this game sometimes is it can get very loud. If you are interested in seeing Valorant versus Absolute Legends, if you're following Boaster or any other of the players involved, twitch.tv/SM9LE. Smile, but with a 9 instead of the I. We will be watching... Oh, we could go over the schedule today whilst we're waiting for whatever issues to fix themselves. I'm turning the game audio down now because there's nothing really happening. Just Patty Tech just making as much ruckus as possible. 3 PM CST later on today on this channel. Fish123 versus Absolute Legends. On Smile's channel, Valorant will be playing against Fordon Bears, who we are seeing currently. And then the last game of the day, which will be casted by Laz, not me. I hope, because I can't do another best of 3 on top of the 2 today. That's going to be Fish123 versus Valorant on this channel, with Fordon Bears playing Absolute Legends over on Smiles too. So, seen a lot of Fish123, not an awful lot of Boaster though, I'm afraid. But at that point, they may have qualified. It'll be a deciding match maybe between Fish123 versus Absolute Legends on seeding and stuff, maybe. But this is a group that has a lot of interesting teams within it. Teams that have done relatively well recently. The Bears are a team that we haven't seen an awful lot of, so it's hard to say how good they are, but they look okay, acceptable. Either a team that can qualify in a group with Fish123, Absolute Legends, which won at the Wave Invitational a couple of days ago. So they're looking better than expected, to say the least. Valorant, a team that won the German competition of Level Clash. Big tournament with a big prize pool. But didn't necessarily have the biggest competition, if I'm being honest. Because it was only in the DAC region. There wasn't the likes of Fish123 or NIP or Prodigy or Hip 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 or any of those teams. So now they're up against stronger competition, to say the least. And I guess whilst we're in this break, I can keep you updated on that score by just going over to twitch.tv/smile, having a look for myself whilst these problems are fixed. Now we're actually back into game. My bad, I just noticed, but I think everybody was very undecided. But Ice Paper Hands is going to start to blitz onto the site. Hopefully that's loud enough, by the way, but not too loud. Seems maybe a bit too loud, maybe not, but... Soulcast brings it to a 4 versus 3 for the attacking side, as there's a slow rotation coming out of the last surviving member now, Saju, that only has the Sheriff. Very little to work with, as the spike is going to get planted down with keen eyes towards this part of the map. Soulcast isn't necessarily looking now. Well, this space might be opened up, but Cryptix is going to spot him all the way down from the A site. It's good to put the team level on points. Maybe there's a bit of lag with one of the teams had to say, but whilst we are in this pre-round, and we will see... Actually, not. Seems that yet again, Fordon Bears can't afford. Yeah, Saji's the only one that could, but they picked up the Sheriff, so this is going to be a Shiko. Cryptix using to scatter any info and hit this A site consistently like they have been doing. Oh, my mistake. It's SM9LE_. Currently, Valorant, I believe, are going to be 5-1 up. They have defended first on Biden, though, so that is a big advantage that they can take. And that's going to be a pretty beefy orbital strike that's going to hit towards the middle and doesn't result in any deaths. But there's only 3 members of Fish123 left alive, and that's going to be a showstopper out of defense, actually. PHR, but their position's going to get given away by the neural theft, so they know that it's coming. They might still spot them, or has an inkling that Cryptix is going to be there. Spidey sense was tingling, brings it down to a 2v2. The spike is awkwardly held, but it's going to be the sound of Link walling up to try and block it off, but the rotation of the defense is going to go up to the high ground because of it. Soulcast is keeping an eye behind. He does have his own showstopper if he wanted to use it, but may not even need to dedicate this point. Resurrect is available from Saju, but it's whether or not they need to try and bring it out. But they are going to, but just get instantly mowed down from Link, who is going to make sure that Resurrect is completely wasted. Starting to see these guys warm up a little bit. Fordon Bears were ecoing, but they did dedicate 2 big ultimates, 3 big ultimates, Orbital Strike, Showstop, and the Res right at the end. May not have been necessary, whereas we only saw 1. Cryptix using the neural theft. Got them enough information that holding that retake wasn't too much of a struggle for them. 6-1 now to Valorant. Both Valorant and Absolute Legends, teams that have, like I said, done well in previous tournaments, won a couple. Rolling pin have been used on this attack. They're not letting me talk, but that incendiary is going to block them off a little bit as the ult is responding in kind. Showstopper now being used out of a stunned Soulcast. It's going to spot them, but is instantly, or near enough instantly, opt down. Soulcast is still going to trade the kill because of the projectile nature of the Showstopper. These two find themselves in a 2v2 again. PHR, Saju are going to try and rope around a little bit more with Cryptix. Nice paper hands. Ardis holding behind, but looking at the operator, can't tunnel vision any harder than he was just then. Cryptix got the camera, so has a nice view alongside there, and of course this late into the game, not many people are going to necessarily spot it, but Saju, Ice Paper Hands, has the orbital strike. He's just going to wait for it to sort of be planted down, and Saju's in an awkward spot, too awkward to do much with. PHI is going to hear the clomping from the high ground. Nice Paper Hands didn't have the gun out, but that's not enough time. Or maybe will be enough time. Should be enough. It's just a reaction of moving back, but it was just PHR trying to go for the operator. Nice Paper Hands just relying a bit too much on the orbital strike there, to say the least. That they'd have enough time, they'd get enough kills. I wasn't expecting PHR to be on the high ground like that. A bit careless, but when you're in a 1v1 clutch like that, you can't always play it perfectly. Real. regards to economy, both teams are good. What, that was 3 ultimates out of the attacking side. Showstopper, Orbital Strike, Rolling Thunder to start the game off. Neeks responded with his own Rolling Thunder. That's all he really needed to use. So again, both teams trading ultimates. The one's dedicating the most, not inherently winning these engagements, but still a lot more Valorant to be played before either of these teams are going to qualify, if they are going to qualify at all. It's fairly expected. You could put good money on Fish123 being able to do that. And you'd expect if any team could beat them, they would be the ones joining them. But Ice Pippa Hands is going to open up the kill feed. They are pressing down, and Ice Pippa Hands is going to follow them, actually. Slower the Cyber Cage is just going to make sure that screens can't be too much pushed by Patty Tech, that he's just going to wait for his positioning to roar up around. But they're kind of boxed in a little bit. It's going to be a link that's just left on the side, but they need to be more careful of EPULZE, who surprisingly is rotated around without anybody knowing. But they've spotted him now. They have that positioning, but he wasn't necessarily sure that Patty Tech was going to be there. Bit slow to the fight. Wasn't showing all of the information, but Patty Tech is just looking for whatever guns might be an upgrade. Any operators. It's going to go for the defuse. Defuse. I don't know why I keep saying defuse. That just sounds dumb. Goes in for the defuse. There's the operator. Fordon Boars, not bears. Resurrect used relatively early to bring the advantage, members-wise at least, back to Fish123, who were towards B and have now changed their mind up a little bit. Goldcast is holding on to the spike as they're rotating towards mid, which has been watched a little bit by Isaac. The rotation could easily come in from Patty Tech, who is more concerned about A, but can rotate very quickly if they need to. And they come in right in his direction. I might not expect him here, especially with that jump in, but no. There's 3 people that are going to meet him there, so the rest is good to sort of face up against Isaac, who just runs into the crosshair link at the wrong time. PHR is still alive, holding back towards screens, and nobody's necessarily pushing him up. They're all trying to find a way down from heaven. Link was not looking. PHR gets 1, can't get the second. Taju is going to be the last to rotate, has the operator. And they aren't necessarily sure where she is. Cryptix is just going to hold. Was at least somewhat passively, but now has decided against that. But Ice Pip Hands is only 30 health. And all the way back off the site, EPULZE is just going to watch the ramp, which is the direction the Taju is going to be playing. The problem with this operator is it's harder to even clear targets, but no scope onto EPULZE because Cryptix is just around this corner. And even the tripwire giving him up a bit more, but that's probably going to be a save now coming at Saju. As both teams decide not to go for any more engagements for this round. As again, we go even on score for all. A lot closer than you'd expect out of these teams, but considering Fish123 is attacking on split, going even on score is about as good as you can expect. Hell, even finishing this side with 4 rounds on attack isn't necessarily considered bad, right? Let's go that backwards. Ugh. There we go. PHR getting a nice kill with a showstopper. Kills Ice Paper Hands, so he's out of this engagement right now, but they need to be a little bit careful, I suppose, of EPULZE, who is around this corner in regards to guns that are left. There's less members of Fish123, but they've got better guns. PHR wants to check the angle, but also might want to try and grab whatever guns were left there by the 2 dead members of Fish123. But give an inkling that A is going to be hit, and it is hit with some level of ferocity. Yeah, looking to where Patty Tech is, but EPULZE going to rotate around to get Piff. The operator just keeps swapping hands now. EPULZE takes it back. Was the last one alive, so was a bit touch and go towards the end. Economy is a little bit messed up on the side of Fish123, to the point where Link might not be able to afford a gun. Cryptic's forced to buy the Bulldog. Meanwhile, Eco was successful, even if they lost a round for Fordon Boars, who can buy the guns that they want and make life a little bit more awkward. On the side of Fish123, at least a little bit, it seems that the Phantom was viable from Link, but Soulcast going down pretty much straight away from the operator play. Be towards A. Nix is trying to get more, but plays a bit too close. Link is going to get that kill. They'll resurrect to bring the 2 dead members back, but Fish123 on the back foot. They need to be careful behind him, as that's Isaac's going to be holding on site. He's going to run into Cryptics. Neurotheft is giving his position away. But again, EPULZE is playing his lurker role, and it seems to be doing pretty well. But now he has a big ask of him trying to fight a 1 versus 3. Was lining up his shot a bit too much, but PHR just flick of the wrist, nice headshot. Thought he had a bit more time to play with, but unfortunately no, as the scores are tied. Okay, so the reason why the score was displayed backwards is there's a bug in the game, which I'll show you at halftime, where the scores swap around. So this, when I show it, if I can show it, hold on. So this one is when the bug comes in, and I naturally swap them around, but obviously because we ended the day on a cast yesterday that was finished in the second half, right? It was just left like that. So it was my bad for not resetting it. Neek Slatcher gets collateral. I should be watching this guy at the start of the game, and he's still alive. Slowed and a little bit weak, but he's going to try and fight off Link, who's holding on to the Spectre. Gets 2 nice, beautiful headshots. He's going to just make a run for the operator. Gets a nice no-scope near enough onto PHR. Just cleared him up. Orbital Strike is going to shift him out a little bit, and tries to get the kill onto Saju. Gets a wallbang. They did have the heal, but a lot of stuff happening at once, and Fordon Boars now taking the lead. Now we go into the last round of this half. And then I can show you exactly why these are in. Hopefully it doesn't end 6-all, because then it gets awkward to try and explain. But the general consensus is that there's a bug in the game where the teams at the top, so what is that? Fish123 are on the right-hand side. That team stays on the right-hand side. Fordon Boars stay on the left. We're looking at the top of the screen. But the scores switch around. No idea why. Probably the same reason why people have the Dead Phoenix bug in game too. Phoenix backs off. This A-site isn't hit, but that's a very early death. A Patty Tech that was maybe trying to play a bit too aggro, but gets punished for it. Saju gets swallowed onto EPULZE, standing on top of the boxes, but Ice Paper Hands can trade. Speaking of trades, PHR is going to do the same towards mid, as they're holding very aggressively now, as they're going to run into Link very shortly, but Link can win that engagement. The Resurrect is going to bring back EPULZE, so now it's a 4 versus 2. There is going to be a Brimstone in between them. two groups of players. His leg goes down, but that is a pretty strong flash coming out of Eccles to set that kill up. Now it's only Neeks who's just making too much noise, and Soulcast is going to push beyond CT. And that operator, yet again, is seemingly going to trade hands. Six all. That's awkward to sort of show. When it goes 7-6, I'll show you my ingenious way of fixing this bug. I think the Fordon Bears sounds cooler than Fordon Boars. Boars. Going a bit too northern there. Side switch. Scores are still level. Cryptix is holding from distance like a typical Cypher player would. Does considerable damage to the two members. Brimstone and the Rays are going to be fairly low on health. I've got quite good at knowing who's who on the Fish123 lineup. I don't need to have their names up, but fortunately it's the first time I've casted Fordon Boars. I got so northern. I thought I've lost most of my accent, but as soon as I say Boars. Fordon Boars. So far, game plan going really well for Fish123. Even on pistol rounds, there's this sense of deliberation with their moves and where they're going to position, but Link is holding very close, and he's going to be first contact now for this defense. The wall's going to go up, buys him a bit more time. There's only 25 seconds left to push in, so now we're going to start to see the tempo rise a little bit. They're just going to try to break through this wall. As the rest of Fish123 going to wrap around, check every corner, fireworks going off. PHR gets ice paper hands towards the back of sight, but a boombot is going to kill Saju. Tech wants to keep an eye behind him. That's why Eccles is. And Cryptix is wrapping round 2. It's only 2 members left of Fish123 that have a lot of clearing up to do on relatively weak members of Fordon Boars. Headshot's nice, but it means that Cryptix is the only one left alive. 3 left, 2 of which are 1 bullet away from death, it feels like. The Flash is going to try and catch Cryptix out, who hasn't moved and gets an aggressive petty scale. The last 2 members are going to play very passive because of their health, but the fault line is going to get the stun in. And Neeks was down to what, 10 health? And still just manages to get the kill onto Cryptix. I say go 7-6 up. This is what I mean. So it says Fish123 is 7-6 up, but obviously we know that's not the case. That's the bug. So, did I swap it around to be what it should be? It's a bit of an ugly fix, but it's a fix nonetheless. With any luck, when the game launches, we'll have this bug in, and the spectating client will be a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. Speaking of which, what do you think about the game coming out as early as 2 weeks' time? I'm excited. It's great to see the game come out, but still a lot to be done to get this game up to shipshape. It's Fish123 that picked Split. No obvious reason, but Neeks pushes out to get a kill into Soulcast, but Eccles is one that is able to trade, but not for too long. 2 members left on either side. Link is going to try and fight from distance from a Bulldog that no doubt he inherited from one of the corpses. That Incendiary is going to just block him off a little bit, but they weren't expecting Ice Paper Hands to be up there too, who is going to go for a nice wraparound towards the back of the B site. Saju still hasn't planted yet. And you can tell that he's not necessarily sure where people are. Does have time to rotate, but Ice Paper Hands is aware of that happening and gets his third. No doubt that's going to screw up the economy of the Boars. Now, maybe after eco this one. This goes yet again tied between these two teams. one ultimate on the server currently. That is going to be PHR, who's so far had a really good game. A brief check on the scores and the lineups for half time, but might have missed our opening, but we can at least see how things are doing right now. PHR leading on frags across everybody in the game currently, but Link and Ice Paper Hands are currently holding up strong. Second place. PHR has to do quite a lot with the Sheriff and is missing quite a few shots onto Eccles. That's a pretty easy spray down for him. A player that isn't going to be the one popping off all the time, if I'm being honest. But Eccles is the IGL and the main voice for the team. There's other roles that you don't necessarily see. Mostly when you're looking at members of Fish123 to pop off, it is going to be Ice Paper Hands, who is probably one of the more flexible players that we see. And Soulcast, who is very much the opposite. Every time he's going to be playing Raze. But everybody has their good games. So far, I'm pretty impressed with Fordon Boars. Like I said, we haven't seen too much of them. I think I've only seen them play in the Absolute Legends tournament where they did win their first game. Against Clan123, actually, which was a team that comprised of Boomich, the Counter-Strike Na'Vi player. And they beat them. All of this space taken aggressively from Fordon, who are able to get the kills onto site. I'd expected Link to rotate as aggressively as that, but now there's only going to be Ice Paper Hands, who is going to get spotted by Saju. And there's still very little to separate these two teams. As soon as we saw Fordon being able to buy, they're able to sort of pick up again. I imagine, well, I was going to assume that Fish123 might need to eco here, but no, they can buy everything that they need, including the operator onto Ice Paper Hands, who is going to be holding towards mid, where we can see that there's not necessarily going to be too much action to begin with, at least. Most of that is going to be towards B, sorry. Rotating around A yet again. This site has been hit more than most, it feels like. I think Fish123 preferred it, but I am a live stat spot. The Orbital Strike is going to catch onto the heel of Neek Slasher. Unfortunately, it's Achilles' heel and he's down. Saju's going to slow up towards Heaven, but needs to be careful of screens. That's where the majority of this defense are holding. Link is going to try and get a raising killer to Saju and a nice headshot onto Patitek. It was holding a bit too close. Now it's only going to be one left. It's going to be PHR, who Soulcast, from a good fair distance, is able to get that pick. And yet again, Fish123 going to go up around. Give up the defuse to somebody that needs the ult charge more than Cryptics, who does have no theft available. Link needs 2 more if he wants to resurrect. But in regards to ults on the side of Fordon Boars, they have 4 of them, and they can't necessarily be too far off having a 5th, I don't feel. Yeah, 2 away. Guns, seems that this is very much going to be a deep force. Would be unfortunate to see them lose this one out, but that's what they've been really good at. Like, look at the rounds being traded on either side. There's no 4 or 5 rounds in a row. It's 2 and then 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. Much closer game than maybe I and other people maybe gave it credit for. Running backs used to take a lot of space. They are going to run into Link, who does get caught out by Link and weren't necessarily following that, but a rolling thunder from EPULZE is going to come through. It's responded to in kind. Very difficult to see everything that's going on because everybody's stunned. EPULZE managing to survive though and still has a good chunk of health. He's going to get hit and stunned again. But luckily, Cryptix is holding towards the back where the Orbital Strike is going to hit. Now, Patitech is the only one alive on this attack. Orbital Strike's giving a little bit of peace for him. He's going to give up his positioning by throwing the hot hands. Cryptix is going to wrap around and EPULZE is holding there. That's where the spike is too. And EPULZE get his fourth. Miracle that he managed to survive there, really, considering all of the stuns that he was hit with. But a good backup from his team. Such a key round for Fish123 to win. And now we're definitely going to have to see Fordon Boars eco this one. Naturally put Fish123 11-8 up. This is just one of the 4 groups that we're seeing. Speaking of which, what is the score on the other game currently? I could update you on that. Pick up my laptop, that's give me a second. Score is 8-12 to... Should be Valorant, but the scores might be switched around, sorry. In that time, Ice Paper Hands gets his third towards mid as both him and EPULZE are able to sort of clear up and even upgrade the novelty pistols. Isaac gets a nice headshot, but he's the last one alive, got up against an operator that's going to peek widely. Ice Paper Hands getting his 4th of this round. Fish123 only 2 rounds away from taking this first map. Of course, it's a best of 3, and we will be going to Haven after this. And will be our best of 3 decider if we go that far. So far, Cryptix on this Cypher on B hasn't been hit by too much, but it's kind of where Cypher is very good, right? Line up all of his one-ways and try to do as much as possible. There's a Viper in play. The other game. Great score, so that is Valorant. Haven't seen any Viper of yet today, and we have played a good portion of Bind and Split. Ice Paper Hands, again, getting another operator shot onto the ramp, going into Heaven onto the B side, but Isaac has opened up the B, even. Cryptix, I said that he had a relatively quiet game on B. That's changed up, and the Neuro Theft is going to give up the last positioning of PHR, who is right around this corner. Trying to blast pack bully Cryptix away from the site. Can't necessarily do that. Now each of the members of Fish123 started to get multi-kills for themselves as they put themselves onto match point on Split. And here I was saying that both teams were taking rounds off each other and there wasn't too many bits of built-up momentum, but look at that, 4 rounds in a row now for Fish123 that have sprung into life. Ice Paper Hands especially top fragging in joint with PHR. And EPULZE isn't too far behind either. Look at all of the kills and how many more frags it seems that Fish123 have over Fordon Boars. But I expected this would be a quick 2-0 if I'm putting my pundit cap on, but I'm a commentator, I'm a caster, I can't be biased. But Soulcast gets 2, actually. I was trying to look at the perspective of PHRs. They had their ultimate ready too. Rolling Thunder is going to be used across mid by EPULZE, but there isn't anybody actually there. But no information is still good information. The last member is going to be Isaac, who kills onto Soulcast. Tries to fight EPULZE. He's 17 health. Cryptix is going to rotate around to try and catch him out too, but that's going to be it. 13-8 is going to be the score for Fish123. They win their map choice of Split. A lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Fordon Boars, I think, gave themselves a good effort. But they're not done and out just yet. This is a best of 3. Just as that timing came in, actually, the match with Absolute Legends and Valorant on a... What to be Bind is just finished. The score hasn't been updated, so I don't actually know who won out of those 2. But I know there's a couple of people that are interested in the scene. I appreciate you first and foremost. Like, I think a lot of people are going, oh, there isn't an esports scene in Valorant. It's a new game. so long as people are watching these tournaments, it's an esports scene, right? And I gotta say, EU is looking exciting, interesting. There's a lot of teams that could do well. Fish123 is top of the billboard, but you know, I've seen Arkine, I seen in chat a couple of offhand remarks, but that is because the team that he is helping run, Royals, is doing superbly well in other tournaments and will be playing in Group D of this tournament in the group of death, I've got to say. But you've got Too Good for LAN in there, which have looked streaky at best recently. Fabrican, that are looking good. Royals, who again are winning tournaments and beat Fabrican yesterday in another tournament. And of course, Prodigy, you know, main state names of Mixwell, Scream. Maybe Defran, maybe not Defran for the future, who knows? Depends on them really, but they're always a fairly scary team. But we are going to go for a quick break as I think everybody's gone to the toilet and stuff, but that does put Fish123 up 1-0. So we'll update our scores. Go for a little quick break. And don't go anywhere. See you then.